Hello and welcome to another Tech Review Tuesday, which may or may not be on a Tuesday depending how I'm feeling. Today we're looking at a rugged smartphone and we've got this from Oukitel called the WP27 and it is a rugged smartphone. What's that mean? Well, essentially it means that you can do things like drop it, put it in water, let it fall in sort of dust and sand and it should be okay. And if you have a look at their product page for it, you will find pictures of it being wet, being dropped in the desert, and it's got all these very impressive things which nobody knows what it means, like IP68, IP69K and MIL standard G810H. I will try and find out what that is. In the meantime, this is the box it came with, and you suddenly think, oh, this is pretty heavy. Inside the box, the phone, a European USB-C charger, presumably PD, and has an amount of amps you can put through it. And this is an absolute monster. Look at the size of it. It's big. To put it into perspective, I normally use an iPhone 14 Pro, or say not the Pro Max, which is not small, and it is absolutely dwarfed by that thing. It is a big one. It seems to have some impressive things in the spec though. One of the big ones is the 8,500 mAh battery, which is a big battery, which is probably why it's so heavy. But it says on the website that means 1,000 hours standby, 32 hours of playing music, 12.5 hours of video, 53 hours of talking, or 8 hours of gaming, which is pretty impressive. I suppose the standby stuff is most useful. I suppose if you're pretending to be a soldier because it's got the camo and you're out in the wilds for many days, that standby figure is quite useful. This is a 6.8 inch screen. Resolution is 2460 by 1080 and it has up to 120 Hz display, which is pretty impressive. The other thing I felt was interesting about it was the cameras. 64 megapixel and it's called an AI main camera. We don't know what that means. 20 megapixel infrared night vision camera. I'm interested in that. 2 megapixel macro camera, I guess that just focuses very close up, and 16 megapixel selfie camera, i.e. the one in the front. So if you've come to my channel because we're all about FPV and going out in the fields and flying, maybe this thing might be useful. Something rugged that if you drop it in the water or the mud or the sand isn't going to break. First thing I'm going to do is take this lens protector off, which has some of the info on it, and get it charged up, and then we can go through some of these features to see what it's like. The first impression is it's a big phone, a big heavy phone. You don't want the only thing with that sort of phone is trying to use it one-handed for sort of texting, and that might be tricky. But if you're a two-hander, you've got lots more room to do it. Anyway, let's charge this up and let's see what it's all about. Okay, here it is. I've actually had this for a couple of weeks now and on and off been using it around just to see how it is and what would happen. And one of the things I noticed, this is Android 13 it's running. It's incredibly similar looking to iOS now. I'm just trying to turn it on and not look at myself because I've got two options. One is face recognition. The other, if I turn it away slightly and I just stroke my finger down there, there's a fingerprint sensor there, which is an interesting thing. But what they seem to have got rid of is the little menus down the bottom that Android always used to have, and it's now it's so like iOS. I think the two operating systems are kind of merging. Looks and feels very nice. It's very responsive. I like that. In terms of like testing what it would do, I haven't got a SIM card in this one. That's in my main phone. I've obviously downloaded like a whole bunch of apps to test things out and things. So stuff like YouTube, for example, is a good one to test, isn't it? Now this is apparently Dolby Vision 12K HDR 120 frames per second. However, I always notice, and this seems to be a common thing with Android, when it comes up and starts playing, it is never what you expect. Where's the thing for this? So if we go to that button, it says it is doing auto 1080p 60. Now I do notice that this doesn't there's a sort of refusal to play sort of the Ultra HD stuff because it seems to be beyond the resolution of the device. So that is now playing 1440p, and that's as good as it gets because of the screen. But yeah, it's not seemingly dropping any frames, and the colour's very bright. It's a lovely bright screen. So that bit's all good. YouTube, yep, works well. And as you might expect, you know, for regular browsing, for getting your emails, stuff like that, it's all good. That bit works fine. So my normal thing is to test it out with some sort of 3D benchmarks things, which is kind of what I did. So if I go to 3D Mark, this is the one I generally use on sort of lower powered devices. It's 3D Mark, and I'm running the slingshot benchmarks. I've done this on all the tablets and things that are featured on my channel. I even used it as a terms of this is what you would need in terms of a score to run my sim decently. And what this does is it's reasonably good. We're getting 20-ish frames on this main thing. It runs all the benchmarks through, and it comes up with a final score of just under 3,500, which is not bad for a device of this cost. In terms of its comparison, if we look at a Apple Pro Max or Apple iPhone 12 Pro Max, about half the performance of that one. And my old iPhone XR used to be at around 5,000. The tablet that I developed the sim with was about 4,000. So that should mean it plays my sim okay. So, you know, always a good excuse to look at my sim. There it is. Now, in order to install this, I actually migrated everything I had from the last tablet install. You can do that on Android. It's just like plug in the device you were using, and we'll use that one. Let's go over to a decent level like Valley. And start the sim. Actually, let's put a frame counter on it, shall we? That'd be better. You will see it basically took the settings I already had, so it's running it in 984x432 in medium level, so certainly not full screen. And let's go back and see what we've got here. And this is the most demanding of the levels, and it's running this about 50 frames per second at the moment, up to 60 there. Oh, it's going beyond 60, that's handy. Although I pick a graphics mode and say it's 60 frames a second, ooh, out of focus, it's actually getting proof that it's got a 120Hz screen because it's going into 75, 80 frames per second. So we can, you know, either put the graphic detail up a bit if we want to, or run it like this. Anyway, it's fairly smooth, fairly playable. It will react nicely, and landed in the water. Whoopsie. This is what happens when you try and play for a viewfinder. Anyway, on this, I was just thinking, oh, can we connect a regular radio to it and do it that way, just to check the OTA port works? Well, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I've got a wide connection on a boxer here, and you can see that looks pretty good. So if we go back and resume, and I can't see really what I'm doing. Yeah, I had this sort of set up to play in using my thumbs on the screen, which means it's a little bit gentle compared to how I'd have it on using a proper radio. But yeah, this seems all good. Oh, that's so slow. I definitely need my rates up on a radio. But yeah, OTA works good. So my other method of checking out performance of phones, often to run emulation, but on this one I thought I'll run something that I know is a sort of a higher powered Android game, and this is Genshin Impact here running. I couldn't really tell you anything about the game at this point. I haven't really played it, but it seems to work. Zoom in, zoom out, go around, move the camera, and it's all pretty smooth and looks pretty nice. And this is a fairly big deal as far as Android games go. Certainly, Jesus, downloading the thing took an absolute age. It's just Well, I've got an attack button. I don't know what to. It just downloaded update after update after update, and I really didn't know what the hell I was doing. Just going into camera mode now. I'll show you the normal bits outside, but I've just got this 20p coin here because I wanted to show you what the macro lens was like. If we do that, we can zoom way in and keep very clear focus, which is pretty nice. The only difficulty there is really getting the right amount of light in, because if you go straight over the top, you'll often put yourself into shadow. But yeah, you can recreate my fingerprints here pretty much, can't you? Anyway, let's go outside and let's do the main camera and some photos, and then we'll do infrared at night. Okay, so here I am outside in the garden filming in 2K mode using the internal microphone. 2K is the highest it goes, and it's got electronic image stabilization, which I've turned on. See how this goes. Bit of a breeze, so I'd expect a little bit of wind noise perhaps, and it's quite overcast. There's a bit of light around, but we'll be able to see how this handles the light changes. And let's try the selfie camera next. Okay, it's not that easy holding this phone with one hand. It's very large, but this is the selfie camera. This is 1080p image, electronic image stabilization. Electronic image stabilization is on again, and the sun's now hitting my face. So let's see what happens if it's backlit. Ugh.
This is me in voiceover mode now. I just wanted to say the microphone on this phone seems to be a bit hit and miss. It was coming up very quiet, but I could boost the volume okay in the editor. But it's like you turn the microphone slightly and then it's much better. It's just, I couldn't get it very consistent.
Okay, I'm in the garden at night and it looks really dark on the camera. It's actually not that dark, but the basic camera doesn't do too well. You see there's a street light up there that lights it, and conservatory there gets a bit of light, but anywhere else it's like forget about it. It's really quite bad. So let's try night mode, see what it's like.
So the issue with infrared mode is it works on photos but not video. So instead of giving you a video, I'm giving you a screen recording of what was happening. You see I've just pressed the photo button there, and that seems to make it actually set off the infrared lights so the sensors can pick it up. This is not like external lights, it's pure infrared lights. I can't see anything coming out of the camera. And if you look at the photos we took there of the washing line, it looks like that, which is perfectly fine, and if we had video of that it'd be fantastic. So I basically wandered around the darkness of my garden trying to figure out how to make it sort of fire off its infrared lights by trying to focus it, but it was again very hit and miss about how I could do it. I wish there was a mode where it would just be like put infrared on all the time and have the sensors going. I went through all the settings seeing if I could figure out if I'd missed something, if I could set it to video, but there was nothing I could see to do there. Photo resolution on this camera is 9216 by 6912, so quite high. I only took one photo because the sun was quite reflective and I managed to focus on the flowers in the background instead of the foreground, so a bit of a fail there for me, but it seems quite reasonable. Okay, you'll see it's just gone 10 o'clock on Friday and my battery is at 100%. This hasn't got a SIM in it, but it is connected to Wi-Fi, as you can see up there, and Bluetooth is active. I'm logged on so I get like Gmail and stuff, my Google account, so you can see me getting YouTube updates there. So what I'm going to do is just leave this for a week. I'm going to come look at it every day at about 10 o'clock and see what's going on. And while that's going on, I'm going to explain to you what all those things mean. The IP68, IP69 and MIL standard, that sort of thing. So anyway, that's day 0, 100%, 10 o'clock at night. Okay, I forgot to look at it last night on Saturday, but it's 9:45 and it's on 94%, which is still pretty good. 6% lost 2 days is, yeah, fairly good, isn't it? So IP68 and 69, well, the first number, the 6, is the highest rating, and that means it's absolutely dust tight. The second letter, and this is the 8 and the 9, 8 means protected, being continuously immersed in water for a longer period. 9, which you don't really need to say 8 because 9 kind of encompasses it, means it's protected against water being projected at high pressure and temperature, which basically means they've pressure washed it and no water came in. It doesn't mean you can go diving in it. Like the IP68 means it survived 30 minutes in 1.5 meters of water, so that's something to say. Not waterproof, but if you drop it in a puddle, it should be fine. Now, I have to admit, I completely forgot about this. I was out doing other stuff. It's now Wednesday, the 18th of October, so that's about a week and a half, just over, and it's still at 44%. I haven't touched it because I forgot about it and was doing other stuff, but yeah, standby battery life I think is pretty good.
So, what is mil-std-G810H? Well, that's a very good question, and if you try and look it up, you'll find a 1,000+ page document about how the US military has this sort of standard approach to testing and how everything must go through the standard. It reminded me of being back at work and having to live with like the ISO 9000, 9001 stuff. It's almost impenetrable. Basically, it lays out their standards for certain things like vibration and shatter testing and what happens if there's like firing going on and how things should work, and basically gives a testing framework for manufacturers to meet that standard. Oukitel say they meet the shatter resistance standard. Exactly what it is, I don't know, because it's too long to try and find it. I think they're trying to say it's good and it won't shatter, so we'll have to take that as face value. It's much more easy to find out about the IP6869 dust and water testing than this document, I'm afraid. It was just too much for me. But anyway, this is the phone overall. What do I think of it? Well, I haven't charged it since that testing. It's now Thursday the 19th of October and it's on 32%. So I think if you weren't using it, you could put this on standby happily for 2 weeks and it would still survive, which is good. Nice big battery is good. I like the fact it's got a big bright screen, although outdoors it can be quite reflective. You watch out for that. It was pretty good processor, did 3D graphics quite well, have no problem in web browsing, email, YouTube stuff, and it's at a size of a screen that typing with 2 thumbs is pretty easy. Trying to type with 1 thumb or trying to hold it to do selfie stuff is a little harder just because of the physical size. The thing I was disappointed in is the sound quality when recording video. The microphone is there. First I thought I was holding it like this and covering it, but it seems to be a sort of angle thing, so it's like you could hear the wind noise coming out. It obviously works that way. It's almost like I needed to speak into it, but that's not filming me rather than there, so that's a bit of a letdown. You can obviously plug an external mic in if that's important, but for me, I'd just like to, you know, be able to casually use it and speak and be able to hear myself. As I said, I could boost the volume. The signal it records is clear enough to boost the volume. You don't get any additional hiss and stuff, but yeah, just a weird one. Overall, it's a pretty good experience. It's not an expensive phone. It's not on the cheaper end. It's somewhere in the sort of middle, and it does seem very tough. You can drop it, you can submerge it, you won't get dust in it and stuff. It's got this cover on it. It's got covers here. The SIM card is, I didn't actually talk about that. The SIM is just in here. You pop out yet another cover here, and this will let you in. So it is quite a rugged phone, which I think is the idea. So if you're one of these people that constantly drops your phone or drops it in the toilet when it's in your back pocket, or lets it fall in sand or something, then maybe this is worth checking out. As far as Android goes, as I said, it's so close now to iOS. I didn't mind this so much. I'm very much a sort of Apple person. I use the odd Android thing, and I do like the fact you can connect anything to Android. It doesn't stop you. That's very nice. So this is the Oukitel WP27, kindly supplied by Oukitel, and of course there'll be links down below if you want to check it out any further. Hope that review's been helpful, and I will catch you in the next Tech Tuesday. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.